Yeah, thank you so much, AAI, for having me. My earbuds here might die out, and if so, I'm going to switch the speaker. So wouldn't be surprised if there was a bit of a pause. But thank you so much for AAI for hosting this webinar. I see so many people that are in the chat. We got 3 full pages of participants from around the world. I've been a part of the advisory council, I know, for quite some time, but quite inactive on there. Hopefully going to change that very, very soon. So I want to get into an interesting topic that was proposed for me to talk about. Atheism on the right in American politics. Granted, I'll just state for the record, Atheists for Liberty is a 501c3 nonprofit. We're not a left-wing organization. We're not a right-wing organization. We're an atheist organization. But one of the things we do, unlike plenty of our counterparts in this country, is we reach out to other parts of the American politic that other atheist groups don't do. So I want to bring you all back in time. We're celebrating 30 years here of atheist advocacy from Atheist Alliance International, and a lot of your activism resonates with what's been happening in the United States over the last 20 years. I want to talk to you all about a man named Woody Kaplan. Woody Kaplan was one of the former heads of the ACLU, staunch civil rights advocate, a free speech supporter, and advocate for separation between church and state. 22 years ago, him and other activists proposed the creation of an event called the Godless Americans March on Washington, also known as the GAMOW, getting a bunch of atheists that weren't even that popular yet to scourge up resources to have some kind of presence at the Washington Mall. And in 2002, him and a bunch of other atheists, around 2,000 of them, made their appearance, made their debut. And while the crowd size was not that big yet, and while atheism wasn't getting as normalized yet, they created a new movement, a secular coalition for America that ended up birthing lobbying groups, PACs, and other entities that ultimately led to some amazing successes on the left in American politics. Because during this particular event, oh, that's where the earbuds came out. 1 second here. Speaker, we're going to go to this. Because it doesn't matter at the end of the day, and this is one of Woody's vision, it didn't matter what side you were on in American politics. The main concept was, if you were an atheist that supported the idea of normalizing atheism, preserving free thinking, and safeguarding secularism, and defending our liberties as atheists, you were included in this new, rich, small in 2002, but growing movement. It was then due to the successes of the Four Horsemen, numerous other nonprofits, the birth of atheism on the internet, people like David Silverman and Lawrence Krauss coming out with ever popular books, that atheism became a massive phenomenon. And in 2012, 10 years later, you had this event called the Reason Rally, and tomorrow is actually going to be the 12-year anniversary of that event, the successor to the GAMOW, where unlike 2,000 old atheists trying to get everything together under Woody's vision, 30,000 atheists showed up in the rain and in the cold. That was the success of atheist movement unity and bipartisanship. So it was through all this collective work that on the left and in the Democratic Party in American politics, you ended up seeing something called the creation of the Congressional Free Thought Caucus, where numerous members now of the U.S. House of Representatives proudly support the rights of atheists and agnostics, science advocacy, and more. Great stuff. Where in 2002, you couldn't even get a single state Democrat to acknowledge atheist rights whatsoever. And Woody was very pleased by that. A lot of the people in 2002 that ended up seeing that vision became successful, they were very pleased by that too. But there was a bit of a problem that happened a few years after that first rally, our movement's division. In the United States, I'm not going to call out any specific groups, any specific individuals here, plenty of groups and individuals started to prioritize outside politics. You had plenty of atheist groups that used to work with Woody quite a bit, prioritize social justice instead of atheism. A lot of atheist entities instead became social justice entities. And our original mission, our nonpartisan mission to normalize atheism in the country and to stand up for our rights, became sidetracked. Innocent people got canceled. We divided each other over nonsensical issues. When, if you wanted to support an outside issue, you could have supported a think tank that had millions of dollars more than the small amount of resources that we had in the atheist community. And now some of us don't even talk to each other. Look in this chat and see how we divide ourselves over these very outside issues. And now, with the first ever conservative Republican state senator in Idaho being an outed atheist, literally what's happened on the left now starting to happen on the right, our 2002 moment happening now. Where's the support from all those other entities that used to back Woody? It's non-existent. So 5 years ago, myself and other veterans from the left and the right from the atheist community came together and founded a national organization called Atheists for Liberty. And one of the things that we ended up doing is copying what the successful organizations did in the past. They reached out to the left. We're going to go ahead too and reach out to the right. You're going to have atheist organizations that go to Netroots Nation. We're going to go to the Conservative Political Action Conference and find all the atheists and agnostics that are there. We're going to go to the libertarian events such as Freedom Fest and LibertyCon and get them all to band together to do exactly what we did those 20 years ago. And we're not going to let outside politics divide us and corrode us as a result of this. So we have Joffrey Schroeder, state senator in Idaho, who is an outed conservative atheist. That trend is only going to continue. And it's going to be an interesting question that all of you are going to ask yourselves. Are we going to unite like we did 22 years ago, despite our political differences, to make sure the mission of the atheist movement is successful? Or are we going to instead prioritize our outside politics instead of that? It's a question I ask all of you. We also have a bunch of other goals that we need to achieve now in this new atheist movement that we're building. If certain groups don't want to work with us, we're going to create our own path. And we're going to move forward with those that want to work with us. I'm very proud of Atheist Alliance International for being on that path with us and for having me on the advisory board and Atheists for Liberty as an affiliate. We need to make that second half of what Woody wanted possible and victorious. We need to make atheism cool again. There's a new religious right that has emerged. It's different than the old one, but we have to combat it with new tools and with a new understanding of what's going on. There's a religious and woke left that's also defending religious fundamentalism in the name of diversity. We need to combat them with the same amount of ferocity, the same amount of passion, and not let our partisanship get in the way. If we do this, if we don't repeat the same mistakes that our predecessors made just a few years ago, some of these same people that won't talk to you guys, and I know who some of you people are here in this call, we're going to win. And we're going to win in a way that we haven't even seen before. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. I'm proud to still be supportive of Atheist Alliance International for putting the bullshit behind them. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the Q&A. I'll actually jump on in as well. Tony, I think what you said is very eloquent and amazing, and I totally agree with everything you just said. But we can definitely as well build on to the current successes we've made too. So depending on if you as an individual were involved in politics on a wide variety of other issues, while I'm not an advocate of atheist organizations embracing too many outside issues that divide us in the talk I gave earlier here, a lot of us have our own interests, and we're naturally going to be involved in other causes in other events. If there are any discussions around religion at said events, it's very important, if you can be out as an atheist, to be out as an atheist, to normalize being an atheist in these various different communities. We had 20 years to do it on the left. We're starting to now do it on the right. I've gone to local progressive meetup groups back in the day when I was more left-wing affiliated, and I've gone to even young Republican events now that I'm more right-wing affiliated. And each and every time I expressed my skepticism, I expressed my love for secular government, my humanism, and my atheist advocacy. And one-on-one, each of you will start to notice that you'll make one or two friends. Oh, I'm an atheist too. I'm an atheist as well. And eventually, if there's a certain area of your demographic that doesn't really have much secular activism, you, hypothetical person who I'm speaking to, people, you can then take the initiative to create that secular caucus, that secular element in that space. And that's how we were able to, be incredibly successful on the Hill with CFI's office and SCA's office, literally having a presence there, the Free Thought Caucus, the emergence of so many groups online and offline. We have 50% more of the work to do. It's going to take another 20 years to do the same for all of America. I'm, again, only speaking on behalf of the United States here. But it's very important. And yes, you can't really separate politics entirely from this kind of advocacy. We can measure how much politics should be or not be involved, but it's all political. I don't know if this is just an open question, but I can help answer that if it's open to everybody, being a token young person. Yes. One of the issues that I've noticed, and I've been in online and in-person atheist advocacy for the last 10 years, we've been through a lot of various different social, cultural movements. Atheism was very, very sexy on the internet 10 years ago. So like 2012, 2013, 2014, everybody was jumping onto every single atheist stream and podcast. You would have YouTubers blowing up. Atheist content was the exact thing to talk about. That's kind of died actually recently when it comes to certain things. The counterculture of atheism is actually not as hip online as it was in 2014. So what we have to do is we have to adapt to the current times. One thing that we're working on at Atheists for Liberty, for instance, is an upcoming college tour. We've been trying to, work on it here and there over the course of the last year, and we're finally getting some momentum when it comes to the planning, because atheism was very prevalent on college campuses 10 years ago. Secular Student Alliance having a ton of different chapters around the country. I would argue that's due to some of the outside politics. That momentum has kind of died down. Somebody was talking about my affiliation with like Turning Point USA in the past. What ended up replacing the hype of atheism on campuses was this idea of free speech on campuses. So we have to find ways, if there's a certain issue that is really, really, really attracting young people, anything that's controversial, anything especially that religion can be involved in, we have to get atheism involved in that particular niche. Podcasting is really popular. Streaming is very popular. X Spaces is really popular. Discussions on some of the most edgiest topics you can think of are very popular. If we can center religion and atheism into those topics and try to come at it from a fiery perspective, we were very militant 10 years ago. I think we need to bring some of that in as well. You'll get the Gen Zers. You'll get the late millennials coming more into the fold. I think a lot of us are operating off the legacy of our past success from 10 years ago when we had that last bit of internet hype, but that's kind of dwindled down a little bit. We have to figure out how to pivot and how to adapt quickly. And once we do, then we'll get more young people on board.